Hi guys, this session will be discussing about the impact of choices, as in if we choose the wrong property versus if we choose the right property, what is the difference in the financial situation at the end of, let's say, 6 years, 10 years. Okay, we'll be looking at some numbers, and also hence we will be looking at the true causes of home ownership. Because the thing is, a lot of people, when we buy houses, we think of buying our dream houses, we think of buying our dream location, or I've been looking forward to staying, example, East Coast, whatever lah. And then realize that when you finally buy the place, and then somehow the place didn't make money for whatever reasons, and then when you want to sell, you will be thinking, never mind, I buy an example 3 million. Then next time I sell 10 years later at 3 million, technically I didn't lose money, right? So we'll be looking at what are the true causes and how much do you actually have to sell in order to break even. So disclaimer, whatever I show in this session is just based on my own point of view, my own research and my known numbers, and doesn't represent any other people's financial situation. So anyway, back to this. I've dig out a few developments that are rather iconic in their location. For example, the leader in the Faro area, and then you got Interlace, and then you also got Silver Sea, and then Hillian Residences and Ascension Sky in Red Hill. So you can see it's all over island in order to compare lah. And these are rather iconic in their respective areas. You can see Silver Sea has been going sideways for almost the past 8+ years since TDSR came in. Ascension Sky actually went down, and then Hillian also sideways, and then you got the Leiden also sideways, and also Interlace also pretty much sideways. And if that's the case, the owners didn't lose money, right? Since the value is about the same as where they were about 8 years ago. And then we look at how the true causes of ownership actually leads to a net loss when they need to exit sometime in the future, or rather the near future. And then we look at two case studies today. We look at the first one, investment quantum of about 1.5 to 1.6 million, for example. And back in 2016, if given a choice, will most people choose the OUE Twin Peaks, or will most people choose the Panorama? And then if you take a look, and for those of you who know Panorama, you know how Ulu the location was before Mayflower actually came up later half of last year. Okay, and then on the other hand, you got OUE Twin Peaks in along Grange Road, which is one of the most atas area in Singapore. Therefore, this is definitely a very prestigious area. Great Wall City hasn't been opened yet, so we don't look at that. But in terms of prestige, definitely this area is way better. So given the same amount of quantum, if somebody put the money in OUE versus another person who put the money in Panorama back in 2016, let's take a look at how the financial situation would have been. For Panorama, you can see the chart has been moving upwards, and then for OUE Twin Peaks has been moving downwards lah. Okay, that was back in 2016, and we take a look at both two situations. In 2016, I tried to find transactions that are very similar, quite close to each other's timing. So we can see over here, for 1.5 million quantum at that point back in 2016, you can afford a 570 square feet unit over here for investment probably. And then 2016, assuming this guy bought at 1.5 million for 2629 PSF, and then exited at 1st of December 2021, there would have been a paper loss of $160,000. But is that all the loss is? Because if we take a look at the transaction cost of buying a certain property, you got buyer's stamp duty which goes to IRAS. You got legal fees of I'm assuming we go $3,000 times two-way buy and sell two ways. You got $6,000 over here. And then you got a typical agent fee of 2%, and we are not even accounting it for the GST. Also, property tax and maintenance fee, assuming both of them add up together to only about 500 a month, and then we times it by 5.5 years, which gives us a total of $33,000 for both property tax and maintenance fee. And then the main killer over here is actually the interest. For instance, in this case, if we go for 1.5 million, last time it was 80% LTV, but we just make it simple, assuming now it's the same 75%, and then we borrow for 30-year tenure. interest would have been about 1,004 plus, but then it works on a reducing rate. So I just take a little bit lower and at times it by 5.5 years. Then we get $89,000 worth of interest incurred over this span of 2016 to 2021. And then if we add this together and we haven't even, I don't want to factor in renovation because this is a resale at this point. I don't want to factor in because if we compare to the other one at panel, which wasn't done yet, but there will also be a little bit of reno versus a resale reno is going to be higher. But I strike them off because there may be people who rent before the new development is up. There may be people who stay with parents before new development is up. So for comparison purposes, I wouldn't factor in renovation costs. Or for the other side, I wouldn't factor in rental costs as well, to be fair. Okay, so break-even price for OE Twin Peaks, we are looking at almost $200,000. If I add these two up together with the paper loss, that would have given us almost a 360,000 net loss. Net to be the true cost of this property ownership for this I would say almost about 5 years. And then on the other hand, if somebody chose Panorama at this point, this was bought 2 years after the launch somewhat because it was launched in 2014. Obviously the price would have went up already, as you can see over here. Okay, this was a different floor. This was a lower floor bought at the same price as a higher floor, and then also held for almost about 6 years because that one exited in December 2001. So timeline was quite similar, almost a span of 2 to 3 months. So this guy entered at 1.59, exited at 2.35, made a profit of $700,000+, but this is not true profit, this is gross profit. And then let's take a look again. Buyer stamp duty, this amount, when they enter, legal buy sell, and then agent fee 2%. Same property and maintenance fees, this project TOP in 2017, so only 5 years worth of staying, so 5 years worth of paying and then that will give us $30,000. Interest cost, because this is a progressive payment, so we average out to about let's say maybe slightly about 1,000 plus. And then over 6 years, we would incur about $94,000. So it's not that cheap either. That means break-even price, we need to sell with a profit of $200,000+. And then if I take this and I minus this amount, that would give us a net profit of $500,000+ for Panorama. Okay, so you realize here there is a difference of net loss of $360,000 versus the other one that is a net profit of $536,000. And then we look at the financial situation. Based on this, we would have seen that the guy that got in with the same budget, Panorama, in a much more ulu location, which most people wouldn't think of at that point, would have made a net gain of 530,000+, and then OE Twin Peaks 300+, and then the net financial difference between these two, because one is gaining about 500+, the other one is losing 300+, the difference would have amounted to a total of almost $900,000 worth of difference in the financial situation. In case, for example, if let's say some buyer A with the same exact budget got into panel, then buyer B, same budget, got into Twin Peaks. The difference, the fate between the two people would have been a difference of $900,000, almost $900,000 in just a span of 5 to 6 years. How many of us can actually earn, let's say, okay, $900,000+ divided by 6. We got $150,000 worth of savings a year. How many of us can actually save that kind of amount in one single year? Okay, and let's take a look at case study 2 with a higher investment quantum, let's say 3.0 to 3.3 million. And then at that point, maybe somebody would have chosen to buy into Reflections at Campbell Bay. This is a dream location for a lot of people. You got waterfront view, and then you basically it's quite a I feel the behavior looks more like a CCR than a RCR already. This is where a lot of people with a lot of money, a lot of well-funded capital, they throw their money in here. And then on the other hand, you got seaside residences. Yes, I understand people say, hey, this is quite near to MRT, but for info, this is still not up yet, probably by 2024, 2025. So that means these guys who bought into this place has the least is rather quite a bit of inconvenience for the next few years also. Because if you take a look at this location, it is not as the nearest MRT is the Green Line, which is quite a distance away. So back in 2017, if we given the $3 million budget, we choose Reflections at Campbell Bay, which is a dream destination for most people, and also seaside residences, which also has sea view. But of course, development is not as big and not as attractive and not as outstanding, iconic like Reflections. And then we take a look at the fate of these two. You can see roughly the chart back in 2017. You got this guy moving here, this guy moving here. So this is Reflection at Campbell Bay. You got example 2017, somebody entered at 3.3 million, exited in April 2021, and exited at 3.25. Not too shabby, only a paper loss of $50,000, not even as bad as the one just now. So is that all it is? Just 50,000 people lost? Let's take a look again. Buyer stamp duty, legal, agent sales fee, and also property tax. Assuming you just hold for 4 years only. This is the amount, property tax and maintenance, probably actually higher given Reflection is not a easy place to upkeep. And then also interest, I just take about $3,000 a month, I times it by 4 years. And then that gives me $100,000+. I don't factor in renovation at that point. And then this gives us already a break-even price of $360,000 profit in order to break even. And if I add the paper gain, that will give us a total net loss of $410,000 just for holding on to Reflections at Campbell Bay from 2017 to 2021. Okay, it's quite scary. $400,000+ loss within a span of 4 years. And then we've got seaside residences, also about the same period of time, April to February 2021. The other guy exited also April 2021. This one exited in February 2021. And then entered 3.075, exited at 3.7. Paper profit of $625,000, or rather gross profit of $625,000. Same goes again, buyer stamp duty, legal, agent fee, no property tax because this guy hasn't even stayed in it. Just TOP get the key already, sold this guy already. And then interest, because of progressive payment, is a lot lesser. Because of the nature of the progressive payment, and then you got a break even of average around $200,000+. And then if I divide minus by this, that will give me a net profit of almost $400,000. And let's take a look at the financial situation of these two guys. Seaside got almost $400,000 profit, and then the other guy at Caratio Reflections at Campbell Bay got a loss of $410,000. And that means a difference of $809,000 financial difference in just a span of 4 years. That means these two guys has a difference of the one buying the Reflection will probably have to save an additional $200,000 a year in order to match up to the financial situation of this guy over here. Okay, so now you can see that by choosing the wrong property, given the same investment quantum, there can be quite a lot of financial difference given the fact that this guy over here, technically, even if he sell at almost the same price with just 50,000 loss, is not a lot, but as you can see, the net loss is actually almost 8 times that of the gross. So is that really as stable as, or rather as risk-free as most people think? Like, a lot of people assume that property investment is so-called almost risk-free, or rather minimal risk, because what can happen to Singapore property, right? Well, basically, if you take a look into the numbers and you dive in, you realize that there is actually quite a lot of pitfalls that a lot of people don't even realize. And then on top of that, we haven't even factored in this guy called the accrued interest. Why? Because if you take a look, let's say over the years you use some of your installment, you use your progressive, for either your progressive or monthly installment, you use OA, and then you also use for your upfront 20%. Maybe I'll just take 25%, and I times it by 10 years accrued interest worth of compound interest. that would have given me a loss of $210,000 worth of accrued interest for the same $3 million quantum. Okay, why I say loss? Some people say it's not quite count as loss, or because yes, I'm paying back to when I sell, I'm paying back to CPF for lending me the money. But if you left it intact, if you use cash instead and you left it intact in OA, that money would have been given to you by the CPF board. So technically, money that could have been given to you but you didn't take is actually quite is a loss, right? Like you could have gained it but you didn't. So it's actually money loss. So on top of that, the net difference is almost the same because this guy over here, okay lah, he also, to be fair lah, but on top of that, the net loss is actually $600,000 or rather $620,000 loss for buying the wrong property. Okay, so a lot of people think that, it's my dream home, I work so hard for it. I mean, if you have quite a lot of capital to play around with, then I don't think that's a problem to you. Because maybe some people, $1-2 million worth of loss is nothing much. But to some people, 1 million worth of loss can set them back, can set their retirement goals or whatever goals, financial goals, set them back by 5 to 10 years easily. And to even if, let's say, $1 million loss, and then you have a $100,000 loss, $100,000 loss per annum, how many people can actually save $100,000 per annum for most of the working crowd, right? I mean, let's not even talk about business owners lah. So in terms of conclusion, I think it is very important for us to look far ahead. How long do you think you're going to be staying in this property? And then we need to analyze the risk of why is it important that we look at the nature of the area that we are buying into, and what are the chances that we are going to get into something that can help us appreciate in order to help us reduce our true causes, or rather our net losses, if we have to sell at not so ideal value. And so what are the certain factors that we have to take note in order to maximize the chances of making higher gross profit, which will help us to reduce the net losses lah, or rather hopefully even have net gains in the future. Okay, and then of course all these wouldn't have mattered to you, like I said, if you are very financially well-heeled, and then you are, to you, maybe $1-2 million doesn't really make a lot of difference. But to most of the working population, or rather those people who bother to watch my long videos, you will realize that the reason why you're watching is because you want to be prudent, you want to be financially prudent, and hence you're taking the time to learn about the real estate market, to learn about the numbers, and hence you probably will be more willing to sit down and do your homework and to find the right professional advice in order for you to reduce your risk in the future next time if you ever want to exit. Because it is not as simple as, okay, I'm sick of this location, I want to move to somewhere else which I really feel like staying, and then you realize that there is this amount of loss that you are actually facing. Okay, so that is the end of our sharing today. If you have any inquiries in today's crazy market, let's just be honest, today's market is a crazy market, but are there still opportunities in the market? There are some dimes in the market, but is it easy to spot them? I really don't think it is that easy, because not many people really do know how to look at the numbers. And if you feel that you need help to look at the numbers, then you can just drop me a text, and then I'll see how I can help. Okay, then that will be all we have for today. See you guys. Bye bye.